Pranam Acharya.
Yes.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank you, Acharya. Actually, I'm listening from you from last 2.5 years, and after then, a lot of betterment have happened, and I have become a better person. Even after listening to you, and I started on veganism also, and I'm a completely vegan. And Acharji, my question is regarding climate change. Previous to this, as we were actually studying in IIT, and we used to think that climate change is actually a technological problem. Like only this carbon emissions are there, like, renewable and electric vehicles are the solutions. And we were doing even research on this. So I had the same notion that technological problem is actually climate change is a technological problem. But after going watching your video on climate change, then I got to know that actually the overpopulation and overconsumption are the main culprit and the main causes behind it. And in the same regard, in the last Mahotsav also, you asked answered someone's question that the probable solutions would be like either one is the like the spiritual upliftment that foundation is doing this work, and also and the another is the like to have some rules and regulations which will actually compel people to stop overconsumption and stop overbreeding. So as we are doing the spiritual upliftment from our side, and what I would like to know, what are your views on the let's say the institution on government side, like how on which aspects they should work on, and as we who are listening to you, and how we can contribute to the other part of the solution, like the rules and regulations, what you are saying that government or institutions can work upon in the other side of the solution. I wanted to know your views on that.
People have to be awakened, and those awakened people have to elect governments that will listen to awakened voices. If governments know that their vote banks give two hoots to the climate, then why will they ever take the trouble of pushing reforms and regulation and taxation? That won't happen. So the solution cannot really come from the governments. The solution has to come from an awakening of mass consciousness. Or the solution has to come from some kind of a benevolent dictator. He says, even if the masses are not awakened, I am going to enforce regulation. But that kind of a thing is not preferable, no? It's better if the masses themselves decide that climate action is important. And if the masses decide that, then the leaders will have to listen to the masses. That's what a democracy is all about. So, at the ground level, you see, there has to be a mass awakening. A lot of effort has to be made towards sensitizing the common public. Climate action has to become a part of the electoral manifesto of political parties. Till we come to the point where we start seeing political leaders talking of the climate to get votes, we will not find any concrete action. Votes have to be dependent on the willingness of the leader or the candidate to take action on the climate front. And the voters, therefore, have to be educated. There is no solution. Till the time we have this situation where votes come on communal basis or caste basis, or sometimes they are blatantly bought off, there is very little hope for substantial improvement in the climate situation. So the work has to be done on the ground by people and organizations who understand the criticality of this movement, and the right kind of people have to be elected, and the right leaders must be brought to power. If you find that your representative at whatever level has no sensitivity for this absolutely critical problem, then you must ensure he is defeated. You must ensure, if possible, that he does not even complete his term if already elected. You see, not all people can be educated in a short period of time. And when I say short period, I mean a period of few years. But even if you have 10 to 15% people who make climate action a high priority, a top criteria when it comes to deciding their vote, then you will find a great movement. And from the choice of these 10 or 15% people, then you can have regulation that will affect 100% people. In an economy, you see, in a democracy, you see, 10 to 15% is a very, very large number. A vote share shift of 1% is enough to turn tables around. 10% is like an earthquake. It upturns everything. So if you can have just 10% people who say, our topmost priority is the climate, and we'll vote for the candidate who listens to the climate, then you will have regulation, as we said, that will affect and be binding on 100% of the people. And regulation is needed. Mass awareness by itself will not suffice. And even if mass awareness is to be brought to those levels, it will take decades. We don't have decades. But we still have probably sufficient time to have 10% youth rally with us.
Yes, Ajarji, and in the same question, I will also as you were saying, this 10% of youth, generally still those 10% of youth think okay, only this technology will come up, let's say some fancy change, let's say some new EVs are coming or something like this.
So when we are talking of raising awareness, that's what we need to tell the people. Climate change is not a problem of wrong technology. Climate change is a problem of wrong mentality. It is not a technological but a spiritual problem. No improvement in technology will be enough to take care of the carbon emissions. It is in Britain, I think, that they are now experimenting with masks that would absorb methane. And those masks they are putting on the mouths of cows.
To hold on their bulbs.
So that their methane emissions are absorbed. But one thing they do not want to agree to, why eat the cow at all? The cow has to be eaten, and the cow has to be milked before it is eaten. Milk we cannot leave, and beef we cannot leave. But we will try to find smart technological solutions. We have come up with a smart mask. Now, this won't help. Because your lust for beef is unending. Also, the ego is a very cunning thing. It does not want to have knowledge that hurts its interests. What does beef consumption do and what does dairy consumption do is very well and very broadly and in great detail documented at thousands of places. You need not even visit a library or buy a book. Just Google. And you will come to know about the effects of animal agriculture. But we don't even want to know. So there has to be a mass program. There have to be loud and powerful voices. There has to be a lot of youthful energy that has to finally coalesce into some kind of a vote bank. And then we require strict and binding regulation. We require very, very high levels of taxation, for example. Animal flesh and milk must be taxed at sky high levels. 4,000% taxation of that kind.
So Acharji, is as the solution.
Instead, let me just add, because it just flashed. Instead, what we have is governments that are supporting flesh and milk. They call it the blue revolution, the pink revolution, the white revolution. These are the kind of governments we elect. In fact, the biggest support to climate destruction comes from the government. If you want to import equipment for your mechanized slaughterhouse, you will be subsidized by the government at the taxpayer's expense. Whereas if you want to put up a plant-based milk facility, you'll probably face a lot of resistance and the usual bureaucratic hassles. You may have to bribe your way through the system. Slaughterhouses, the government will ease your way. The government is the biggest offender, and we do not see that. The government is the biggest killer of wildlife, of animals. And why am I talking of the government again and again? Because we elect the government. Therefore, the voter has to be awakened.
Acharji, as you said, that voter has to be awakened. So in this regard, even I tried some time to actually uh, bring upon the people around me to come into spirituality and understand the things. And but generally, what it is my observation that some people who are really, like very little bit honest, they will come upon, they will accept the things. But many of the time, most of the people, when they see that there is something that is actually hurting their whatever the existing they are doing, so they will try to prohibit. And especially when something spiritual or something like that, they try to go ahead. So what I try to do, initially I try to share them with the spirituality aspects, but now I try to make them a little bit more about the climate side. So I try to make them concerned about this from this side. So some people understand. So this is also followed. What do you think? As you said, like only 5 to 10% of people would be like who will be actually understanding this thing, and spirit. This they will know that this is a spiritual problem, not a some other problem. But as majority of the people won't understand this. So what do you think?
If they don't understand spirituality, they understand the materiality, right?
Yeah.
It's touching 50 degrees outside. This much I hope they and their skins understand. They understand the temperature, right? They feel the heat. Yeah. So come up with a smart campaign. Why don't you talk about it? Let there be a climatometer. Show how we all are suffering because of the insane actions of the majority. Make the calculations and display how every gram or pound of flesh that you take in is contributing to a temperature rise. How your insane dairy consumption is not innocent, innocuous at all. How it is a fallacy to consume dairy and yet call yourself a vegetarian. So one has to put in his heart and soul into this kind of activism. The challenge is great. And the challenge is great only because the rewards will be very fulfilling. You are saving not your personal self, not your family, not even just your nation. You are saving the entire planet. You don't even know of the billions, trillions of living beings you are saving. That's the enormity of the challenge and therefore the possibility. Is it not worth it? Does it not energize you? So act.